And we are live. Welcome back.
Live.
Bash in the brain. Let's tweet the link out. Let's get the people in.
W103.6, The Brain.
Willie has some takes today. Willie has
Here on
been
a
firing off
Thursday
takes.
Morning.
Yeah, we've been singing Manic
It's a Thursday
Monday.
morning.
We have no clue what day it is.
Dude, I really legitimately have lost track of days with the.
Same.
First of all, the amount of work I'm doing for RAF combined with the schedule I'm on with freaking Junior Worlds and Cadet Worlds and coming back and finally getting my clock right from that. And like legitimately, I did not know what day it was most of this week.
I couldn't believe that you said yesterday we couldn't do a show because you had work to do. I've never heard that from you before, and we've done a lot of shows. You said I'm working. What?
Still so much to do for RAF. There's not. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Hey, but that's what you get. You sign up for a task, you get the task. And I signed up for it. First things first. We got to talk about Cracker Barrel.
Well, let's bang out the Gable game.
Actually, we don't have to talk about Cracker Barrel. I feel like I text. I'm in a group chat with Snyder and Tervel and Pat, my boy Pat, who is the equipment manager at Nebraska for wrestling and basketball. But we're in this text thread that's mostly politics. And yesterday I see all this Cracker Barrel stuff going on, and I tweet, hey, listen, when the top story on social media right now, when the biggest controversy is Cracker Barrel rebranding, you know it's been a good day with not a lot of turmoil in the United States. But really, I can't believe that people are so much up in arms about this. Like, I think it's stupid. But man, like, really, that's what we're concerned about right now is Cracker Barrel? We're concerned about Cracker Barrel.
Look at Sean Messina wants a morning Willie rant. He got it a minute in. It took a minute in, and Willie's ranting about people ranting.
We're concerned about now. I think it's sterile. I think it's bland. I think it's not even having a brand. It's just whitewashing everything. Like you might as well not have a brand. It might as well be just some generic place. That being said, we're talking about Cracker Barrel.
Wow, WrestleStat said Gable game in 3 today. The pressure's on. Gable game in 3.
Gable game in 3.
We got WrestleStat in the chat. Hey, WrestleStat, I'm going to make my plead again since you're in the chat. Can we do a 30-day cookie on the site so I don't have to log in every day? 30-day cookie, please. All right, GableGame.com.
You don't have to log in. You don't have to. I only have to log into WrestleStat if I search a wrestler that's out of eligibility. If I search Gable Stevenson, WrestleStat, I have to log in. If I search Ben Askren or something like that,
let me rephrase. If you search if I go to WrestleStat.com, I'm logged in. If I search in Google Mark Hall WrestleStat and it takes me to WrestleStat, I have to log in. If I come from Google, it makes me log in, and that's 9 out of 10 times what I do. I search for somebody.
I find that if I search for any current wrestler, I'm good. If I search for a wrestler without eligibility that has graduated, I have to log in. Oh, Stewie, the Pico Duke take is coming. To me, it's real easy. Like, that's another thing. I log on to Twitter. I'm gonna preface it though. I log on to Twitter, I see Cracker Barrel stuff going on. I'm like, that's what we're worried about. I log on to Twitter, I see Pico Duke. The brain got that in like one take. Like, I got it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. I asked Duke to answer the riddle last night. So
what did he say? Did you post that episode yet?
Yeah, it's out.
Duke
said he'd win.
Okay.
Listen, wrestlers. I'm gonna save it. All right, let's do Gable game. We got pressure because WrestleStat got it in 3. Do you want to do the first one?
Well, I think I don't mind 157, but I think we should take somebody. I think we should take whoever was 8th. Who was 8th at 57? That's who we should start with because Kasich, you're only erasing 3 guys.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, but I'm also just, is it Big Ten? Is it not Big Ten? Is it a top 3 guy? But we can take who took 8th.
Who took 6?
8th was Caleb Fish.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
But
Yeah.
but I like taking a sophomore or a junior, somebody in the middle.
Right. Why don't we take
You want to take Meyer?
who was blood round? No, that's not good. No, that's not good. No, that's not good.
How about Tommy
Meyer.
Askey? You know,
Go. Let's start using Meyer.
All right. Yeah. Higher winner percentage than 83%. Higher finish than 5th. Higher than a sophomore. Lower than 157.
Who lower than 57? So this is somebody that AA'd. This is somebody really good.
Basically top 3. So I'm
no wonder WrestleStat got it in 3.
Yep.
It's all right. So it's a junior, maybe.
I think senior because it's not yellow. I think it would be yellow if it was a junior. I think.
Oh, because it's close or something?
Because the yellow, like the winning percentage were close, the 5th were not. So
Okay.
give me a 41 senior.
41.
Senior top 4. Top 3.
Okay. Mendez won it. Bartlett.
Should we do Hardy?
Do Bartle do.
Do Bartlett?
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. Higher than third. Higher than third.
It is Big Ten.
It is Big Ten. 33-pounder. So we need a 33-pounder. Oh, this is easy then. So
It's a finalist. It's a finalist for 25 or 33.
So it's either Bird or Drake. It's got to be Bird because Drake.
Okay.
What was Drake's?
25?
No, I think it's yellow, so it's one off. It's 33.
Oh, it's yellow, so it's one off. So it's
Bird or Drake.
Let's go Drake because I think the Gable game system might. Wait, so
Drake's the winner. I just put him in.
Okay, but I got questions here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it had to be Drake because it's one off of third.
Oh yeah, I didn't even catch that. You're right. And the percentage.
But here's the
was
problem.
within,
Here's the problem. I have a problem with this. Shapiro is a sophomore.
Why wasn't his yellow?
Bartlett's a senior. Why wasn't Drake? Why wasn't it yellow?
I think they don't do yellow for the year. Maybe they only do yellow for weight class, win percentage, and finish.
I'll tell you what. I don't blame them because the eligibility is a riot.
Hey, Gable game in 3.
Gable game in 3. Suns in 4.
All right, where do you want to start? Where do you want to?
I want to start with.
You want to recap some
Stars and Stripes, baby. The Stars and Stripes. Last night I wrote. I was so fired up and so patriotic and so reminiscent that I wrote a whole article on the history of the junior world team. I'm so excited, so pumped. Couldn't stop thinking about their performance. I wrote a whole article on the history of our junior world team dating back to the year 2000, putting each team in there and how many medals and the context and such and such. It was just a fantastic performance. 9 guys reached a medal bout. 8 guys medaled, 185 points, which I believe is the highest in this era. 2018, they moved from 8 weights to 10, and they changed the scoring system. So 7-8 years in, I think is the highest point total ever. And we just wrestled our ass off. And, you know, let's take D. Lockett for an example. Like last year when the team won gold, we were like, hell yeah, we won. And you know what? This guy's back. This guy's back. Marisolas are back. So we knew we'd have another team. We knew we'd have another good contending team. But that doesn't guarantee anything. Just like Duke went from, or Lockett went from silver to fifth, right? That's understandable. There's a lot of talent in the world. Just because you won gold last year does not mean you're going to win gold this year. Look, Gable Stevenson, the 1 year he won Junior Worlds, the next year he took eighth, right? It's worlds are tough. You are not guaranteed to replicate what you did last year. Dayton Fix went, the only 3-time Junior World medalist, went bronze, gold, bronze, or bronze, gold, silver. I forget which. It's tough. So even though we had all those guys back, did not mean that we were guaranteed anything. And they wrestled out of their minds. They set a new point record. We went from the highest, the most champs we ever had in a year was 3 to having 5. We didn't just break it; we broke it by 2. And so I just was over the moon with the way, you watch it and you wake up at 2 a.m. so that you catch it at 3 a.m. and then you're almost up all day long because the breaks aren't really long enough to take a nap, and you soak it all in. And like when it's done, you're kind of exhausted. Then you wake up. I woke up the next day and I was like, couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I wrote a little article on it. Just
I love it. I'll tweet the link out for that. So we did a show, first of all, on Monday, which talked about Sunday's action and all of Monday's action. So we've got to talk about Stanich, Henckel, Marisola in the medal rounds, and then Blaze and McEnelly. So let's start with the Tuesday medal round. Luke Stanich I said on Monday's show he's a dog, and then goes out there and wins the whole damn thing after being down 8-0 in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, there again, Bo Bassett's a returning medalist, right? He's coming back. He'll be on the team, right? Luke Stanich had to beat him just to make the team. Then he's down 8-0 in round 1. And honestly, I have the ultimate confidence in Luke Stanich. Like, it's probably absurd, the confidence I have in Luke Stanich. But even I thought it was going to be a bad matchup in the finals. He just keeps proving, even his most ardent fans, he keeps proving them wrong. He keeps surprising us. He's tough. He's athletic when he has to be. And like I said it's a good segue to McEnelly too, because what did I say on Monday's show? I think our trials process, we were talking about McEnelly's path coming in. I think our trials process prepared McEnelly. I don't know if it was easier for Max to make the team. I don't know if he does as well.
Yeah.
If it was easier for Stanich to make the team, I'm not sure he does that well. And for a couple reasons. Number one, because you have to be that good to make the team. And number two, because you have to be that good a couple times. Mm-hmm. So he got almost damn near as good as he had to be a couple times this year. And that's getting you up. And the depth in this country, is a real reason we perform so well on the biggest stage.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I did a Jaden Cox appreciation tweet yesterday because, sometimes if I understand these guys all have their individual coaches, and I understand that. But I feel like if we don't have the success we do, fingers get pointed at USA Wrestling, staff, coaches, whatever. And Jaden Cox got hired last July, and they're 4 for 4 with world team titles since then. U17 and U20s both now repeated as world champs. It's kind of crazy. When you talk about depth in this country, like, wild.
Yeah, I was really impressed. Listen, I do not share the same feelings that most people in this country do about coaches. I don't fanboy over coaches. Like you look at different message boards and you look at different teams and their fan base, and they say, "Oh, what coach would be good if our coach retires or our coach gets fired? Who would be a good candidate?" And they're saying these superstar names and stuff. I'm not sold on that. I am not sold that because you're a superstar in the sport, like you're a world medalist, that makes you by default a great candidate, or you're is a prelude to a good coaching career. I don't believe that. And so, and I know the temperament and the disposition and the proclivities of a lot of these guys. And to be honest, when USA Wrestling hired Jaden as a developmental coach, I wasn't sold. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was a bad hire from the standpoint of, oh, this is gonna suck. But I did think, I don't know if Jaden's gonna be a good coach. Now, getting to witness it firsthand at Cadets, total 180. He's active, he's engaged, he's fine-tuned, like both in the corner, in the tunnel, at practice. He was prepared and he was up to date on the rules and knowing what the referees were going to emphasize and not emphasize. He was on top of it.
Yeah.
He was on top of it and passionate every step of the way. And that's okay. So let me clarify. That's one thing I worry about superstars. Superstars, more often than not, have always been concerned about themselves. Has always been concerned about themselves. So I worry that some of these superstars, when you put them in coaching positions, are not used to having to worry about the needs and the details of other people. They've spent 30, 35 years, 40 years concerned about their selfish needs for good reason. They're a finely tuned, high-level athlete. And now you're asking them to pivot and make everybody else the point of priority. And worry about worry about the details of their former selves, like them 20 years ago, that maybe they didn't even worry about.
Yeah.
And I was completely surprised and completely impressed with how dialed in and sort of the selflessness of Jaden out there. So, I think I was wrong. When they hired Jaden, I was like, I don't know if he's, I don't know if superstars can do this job.
Yeah.
And I was wrong. He is incredible. He is surpassed my expectations. And I think he is only going to get better because he's only had a couple reps. Remember, this was his first cadet world championship. Last year, cadets won worlds. He didn't go because of the conflict and the war in that region, right? So he only has a couple reps in him, but I'm already impressed.
Do you think with the success last year and this year that cadets and juniors have had that a college is going to come calling to him?
No.
No?
Here's why. Well, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't they have? Maybe, but why wouldn't they have already?
Well, what if they shared your sentiment about not knowing if he would be cut out for it, and now you see it for a couple of years, and now you're like, you know what? Like, I feel like the way you look at wrestling is very similar to how a lot of coaches would. So if they had that same kind of thought, like, let's see how he does with USA Wrestling, and then, you know.
So leave him alone. Do not go after him. I'm tired of we're having this success at the age group levels, and then our coaches like Kevin Jackson and Espo and James Green get poached, and there's a lot of turnover there. And listen, for my money, I know NCAAs is the big show, right? And everybody wants to be involved in the NCAAs. Everybody wants to be coaching at the NCAAs. Everybody wants to be there in March. But for my money, bro, I think the developmental position at USA Wrestling is the cushiest job in America. Oh, wait a second. Your job is going to be involve coaching the best wrestlers in the country for a few months? That's your job? Sign me up. So keep your paws off Jaden. Let him stay.
All right, next topic, William. William Henckel dropping the finals match to Yousefi of Iran. What did you make of that match?
I thought it was a great match. I was proud of Henckel's fight. I think on two different fronts. I mean, Henckel's skill set and toughness, I just keep getting impressed with. I mean, really, that's the only thing that really matters in wrestling is skill set and toughness. And I keep getting improved on those two fronts with Henckel over and over again. Yeah.
And for those who want more on Henckel, too, I don't know if I said this already, but Willie and I did a show on Monday. So we covered the first half of his tournament through the semis on Monday's show. Talked about, Willie's thoughts on the Penn State depth chart and Henckel fitting in there. So we talked about a lot of that on Monday, just not the finals match. So go back and watch that show, listen to that show. Subscribe to that show if you haven't already.
Somebody posted in the chat about the narrative of Japan last year. I was way out in front of that, and to his credit, I think Piles was too.
He was too.
Last year at the Olympics, when Japan's balling out, and everybody said, "Boo! This is a terrible performance by Team USA. Japan has passed us. Japan's the future." What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? It is a 1 year, 6 weight. It's a tournament with 6 weights. They're having a tournament of their life, and now there's this regime change. There's this pecking order change. Stop it. Yeah,
Piles has been calling people out, like when there's team score updates, because you and him were the two that were really beating that drum of.
What did he say it last year when I said it? Because I said it. I shot it from the mountaintop.
No,
these people lost their freaking minds, and they were new to the sport, and they have no concept of what the world is offering and what each nation and the status of it. I mean, just knee-jerk, armchair, casual idiots.
Yeah.
Did he say it back then?
Yeah, he did. You and him were the two that I remember.
I think he did.
You and him were the two I remember that were beating that drum with confidence. So you guys are welcome to run with it now. So Henckel gets silver. Marisola bounces back. Both brothers bounce back for bronze, which I'll pull up the exact stat line that Jason Bryant pulled up. Connor and Cole Marisola became the first U.S. brothers to medal at the same men's freestyle U20/Junior World Championship since 1973. That year, Jimmy Carr won gold and Joe Carr won silver. So crazy, very cool for both the Marisolas to bounce back, get bronze. Very cool.
I don't think one of the cars. I think that year there's some crazy stat like. One of the Carr brothers either did that or like made a senior team and didn't win the state tournament.
Really?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Like the Schultz brothers like didn't do good at the state tournament. Like I don't even know if they placed.
you got a
And
lot of
then
good feedback on your. I got somebody's asked me to clip it and just put it out as like a mini video. Your take on state titles and with the whole Mendez tweet. They like that one.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So the Marisols get bronze, and then yesterday, Marcus Blaze, and Tuesday into yesterday, Marcus Blaze and Max McEnelly go on an absolute tear. Blaze wins gold. McEnelly wins gold. I mean, I don't know who's more impressive amongst those two. Both just absolutely looked incredible. Tough grit. I mean, just everything you want to see out of a wrestler if you're rooting for this country.
well, first of all, it's Marcus Blaze is so good that if his name wasn't Marcus Blaze, if somebody other than Marcus Blaze did what Marcus Blaze did, we'd be freaking out about it. We'd be like, "Oh my god!" But it's Marcus Blaze, so we sort of expect that this dude just teched his way through worlds. And it's sort of like, yeah, neat. It's Marcus, you know. Um, he's so good. Now I will say that Marcus has really transformed, and as good as he has been, my concern about him, like say 18 months ago, was like nobody can score on the kid.
Yeah.
Nobody can score on him. My concern is can he get his offense to where his level of defense is? And when you're putting up that many points at Junior Worlds, he did. His offense is caught right up with his defense, and he is a problem. You know what's to me interesting about McEnelly is this is how I view Max McEnelly. I view Max McEnelly as the football player, the multi-sport athlete in high school that we always hope works out. We always hope works out, but never quite does. And here's why I say that. Because a lot of times these multi-sport athletes they don't have as much love for wrestling. They just happen to be good at it that early. Or they don't feel like they really need wrestling because they can be good over here. Or they're so good in so many things that they don't embrace the grind and feel like they have to do the right diet and hit all their lifts and cut weight and be at the right weight because they're naturally gifted, and things have come easy to them. And just generally speaking, those things are hard. Max McEnelly is what happens when a high-level athlete does the right things.
Yeah.
You could see the glimpse of his, he was an awesome running back. And you could see the glimpses in him by winning a medal in cadets. But he has gone from athlete to full-fledged wrestling star, a full-fledged high-level wrestler. And it's sort of rare to see.
Yeah, and a couple of notes about both of them. So Marcus Blaze, first of all, it's kind of crazy. The last 3 years, so he won Cadet Worlds, then he got Junior Bronze, and now he got Junior Gold. 3 World Championships, 3 years in a row. The only person to beat him is now his roommate in training with him. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no beat him last year in the semis, I believe. And now they're roommates together.
Who beat him at the Open? Somebody beat him at the Open.
I don't remember. Let me look it up.
It was somebody, and then Jax beat that guy. Was Seth Gross?
I'm looking
It
it
was
up
Seth
right now.
Gross.
I think it was.
Yeah, I think. But yeah, I mean, to do what he's done, and remember, talking about our trials process system and how robust it is and how deep, um, our system is. Marcus, remember, Marcus first made a name for himself really outside of Ohio, outside of us high school dorks. Marcus really first made a name for himself by unseating a returning cadet medalist. I think it was Jax. But anyway, it was definitely a returning world medalist. Um, and again, it just illustrates how deep we are in this country. Let's see. Jax won silver in 2022. I believe Marcus beat him at cadet trials 2023. Marcus went on to win gold. A couple guys. A couple studs. Listen, we've had Bo Bassett, Lilladal, Blaze, Davino, all in that range in the cadet junior level. And that's why I was talking to a couple other coaches about some of our guys, some of our US talent going to Puerto Rico and wrestling for this team at a young age. And they said, they get it because the process to make the US team is so dang hard.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's pick your poison, right? Like, you have to beat like 3 guys that are world championship level to make the cadet or junior team. But if you do make it through that, you're in good shape to medal for worlds. But if you go to like Puerto Rico and go through their system and wrestle for them, it doesn't help you prepare for that world championship. You got the spot, but your training, your hunger, your bullseye you don't have to be up as much.
Everest Leydecker is a savage.
Incredible.
So she's her final match right now. I just pulled it up. She's up 8-0 over India. She had 3 10-0 techs yesterday. She's got a minute left in the finals right now, and it's 38-0. She's outscored her 4 opponents. She might win. She gets one more takedown, and she's going to 40-0 her opponents through the World Championships.
I would listen. If that was like anybody else, I'd be surprised. She is incredible, and she's still young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she is. She's special. How's my girl Aubrey doing?
She's into the finals. She had a great day today. I've been kind of out of the loop a little bit with Ashley having to work for a living.
Me too. Me too.
It stinks because, like, Monday, Tuesday, I kind of pushed everything aside, but you can only do that for so many days in a row before it's like, okay, let me try to get caught up. So I haven't paid as close to attention, but Leydecker and Audrey were the only 2 women, I believe, to make the finals. Leidecker's up right now, 8-0. Oh, looks like she just gave up a point. Dang it.
Yeah, that. So when I was talking about going to wrestle for Puerto Rico for the world team, I was mostly talking about, in my brain, I was mostly talking about cadets. But we had a couple do it for junior too, including an Arab. Dude, I'm sorry. I just can't get over it. In my text thread with the Nebraska people, I just can't stop laughing about it because Omar Ayub had a phenomenal tournament, including coming back from some deficits and wrestling back, and he beat like the good countries, you know. But this Iranian account, Hello My Enemies, you know that one?
Yeah.
He tweeted an Arab wrestling for Puerto Rico just piece of tea. And I don't know the way that some of these other countries talk.
Well, that Hello My Enemies.
So matter of fact, and so in the text thread with the Nebraska coaches, I keep referring to, and they know what I'm talking about. I keep referring to Omar as an Arab.
What was I just gonna say? Oh yeah, that Hello My Enemies guy. Well, because he had a great troll response because I put out. He said like, "How did he just lose to this bum?" And I'm like, "Tell me you don't know anything about NCAA wrestling without telling me you know nothing about NCAA wrestling." I go, "Max McEnelly is no bum." And I said, "The kid was 25-2 his freshman year, only lost to 2 guys." And he responds along the lines of, "Great, so 2 other people beat him as well." No, it doesn't make me feel better. Like, great troll response, but
yeah, he's a nice mix of like Iranian elitism, but also he'll concede and kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm trolling you, or like, yeah, I get it. I'll admit they're really good. You know, it's pretty funny.
Oh, I wish more of these like international fans. I wish they could like follow NCAA wrestling more closely because I feel like they'd really enjoy it if they could. If they could watch NCAA's, the Big Tens, Big 12s, like if they could watch a dual meet, like I feel like there'd be so much interest because these wrestling fans in Iran and Azerbaijan and, as we said, the stands stock up. Like they would appreciate good NCAA wrestling if they could watch it.
Yeah. Cornell Kevin's right. He did question, like, somebody needs to do an investigation into Max McEnelly because he wrestled 80 kilograms as a cadet and he's now wrestling, or he wrestled 92 in cadets or something, and now he's wrestling 80 sticks, and he's like, who goes backwards? And like, well, it's because they don't have the right, McEnelly was caught in between weights, but somebody replied, "Are you saying he's on steroids to get smaller?" It was just a hilarious.
Are you saying he's on Ozempic? Is that the player? I did.
Anyway, it's good all around. Like I used to think that he was like a bastard troll, like you hate America, but he's pretty funny.
I did see too.
I'd like to. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, I can't remember if it was him or somebody else that when I had said like who's wrestling at the Junior Pan Am Games, and I said Messenbrink, and they're like, how is Messenbrink a junior still? I'm like, well, it's confusing. It's called juniors, but it's actually U23 criteria. I'm like, so it's not. It's kind of a weird usage of junior.
What? When was Messenbrink a junior? Who said junior?
Junior Pan Am Games are tomorrow. But the criteria is U23 criteria.
Whatever.
So you don't even know this was going on. So there's the Junior Pan Am Games in Paraguay taking place right now.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't know it was U23 criteria.
It is. Born between 2002 and 2007.
I believe you. What I'm saying, that's what I was saying about the Japanese women at cadets. They sent like their 4th string women's freestyle team to cadets. And I don't know what they sent here at juniors, but they sent a backup squad to cadets because of Asian games, which means a lot to them.
Yeah. All right, so I think that is for now.
No. We gotta. You guys started it.
No, I'm talking juniors. Are we wrapping up?
We gotta talk PJ.
Well, yeah, but okay, that was a separate segment in my mind. We might have a live caller call in for that segment, but we can go there if you want.
If I want, that's what y'all are.
No. I meant like next. If that's where you want to go next.
Yeah, let's go there next. You guys have been raging. Who wins, Duke or Pico? And first of all, I saw it, but I was working, so I didn't really dig into it. And immediately when I saw the question, I already knew my pick and why. So I didn't dig into it. What was there one consensus? Was like, did everybody say Pico? Did everybody say Duke? Was it 50-50? Was it 70-30?
So to be honest, I have no clue. All I saw was an FRL clip, and Nolf was picking Duke, and I 100% agreed with what Nolf said. And I quickly, as I do sometimes, just quip something out, and I said Duke next topic, and people were very unhappy that I said next topic. And I said, well, listen, I said my rationale was Pico never made a world team, senior world team, and never won junior world gold. And I said Duke did both of those things. And hold on. And I said, so for me, Duke made the world team. Duke won junior world gold. I said, and I also, apart from that, I also just think wrestlers are a lot better now than they were a decade ago. I think they're a lot better in 2025 than 2015. Yeah. So I understand like Pico's resume, and people are like, it's not. There was a couple of tweets of like recency bias. And it's like Frank Molinaro was literally a client of mine during the 2016 Olympic trials. I could not have been rooting harder for Frank at that time. I was watching him and Pico very closely. Mm-hmm. Like I was watching it. So it's not just recency bias. Like I was watching it. I think wrestlers are a lot better now than they were then.
Well, I think that it brings up a good point with like Flo's all quarter century team, which I was happy. Again, this is the second time I'm going to give Piles props, but I agree with him, and he deserves it. He deserves it for poo-pooing on this idea that Japan's passed us, and he deserves props because last night I was shitting on their all quarter century decisions, and I don't know who made the decisions. I think a lot of them are really, really dumb. But Piles tweeted something to the effect of he thought Cole Conrad should have been the choice for the all quarter century team. Now, I don't know if I would go that far. I honestly didn't think about it enough to determine if Cole Conrad was the guy. But I thought about it. It didn't take long to think that Cole Conrad should be clearly at the top of that conversation. Cole Conrad should be higher than Mako. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But talking about the Pico Duke thing brings up a point from the debate about all quarter century team, in that, are you looking at it through a resume thing, or are you looking at it on the eyeball test? Who would have won? Okay. If you're looking at through the resume, yes, you can say Pico never made a senior team. Well, okay. But that's just saying like what bracket was better. I don't. That holds no water with me. Pico went and won senior trials, right? He went and won senior trials. So to say, I know, but to say, you can't say he never made a senior team. It's a little
Well, it's like it's kind of me ribbing back.
He went into one ever. So let's be clear there. 2, he lost one match. 3, it was an Olympic freaking year. Okay.
No, 100%. But these people that are also saying like, well, Pico lost to Yazdani, and Yazdani's an all-time great. Okay, so now you're going to compare a guy like Yazdani and what he's done the 10 years after him and Pico wrestled, but nobody that Duke is wrestling. Like it's just
Well, if you're looking for, I mean, the Yazdani loss. You guys realize the Yazdani loss was Pico's first junior year. So nobody. If you're standing on the side of, well, Pico only lost to Yazdani, and Yazdani's an all-time GOAT, so you can't hold it that much against him. Agree. However, the next year he lost to Mamadov, who was a nobody. I mean, he was age cheating. He was too old, which is why you'd never heard from him again. And number one. Number two, to my dying day, I will say that Pico was hosed on that 4. I was there. I was Matt's side, and it's something I will never forget because I was cheering so hard for Pico. Who, I interviewed him 30 seconds after the match, and he, look it up, it's on Flow. He broke freaking down.
Somebody sent me that video not too long ago in the context of just like wrestling passion and wrestling emotion. Somebody actually sent me that interview completely out of context.
The Pico interview?
Yeah.
Dude, yep. It was one of the hardest things. I would like tearing up now. It was one of the harder things it was one of the harder. It's like the guy lost his mind. I mean, not lost his mind. It just purged his soul. He wanted it so bad, and I knew that through camp. I could tell that, and it wasn't just me rooting for Pico because I'm an American and I know the kids. It was a couple things. It was one because I knew Cheeks wanted it more than everybody wants it a lot. I knew it would be devastating if Aaron didn't win it, number one. Number two, I had a pretty good hunch that if he didn't have sustained this, I had a pretty good hunch we were losing him soon to MMA, And so for those reasons. But if you want to watch a good, heart-wrenching video, go look up the 2015 Cadet or Junior Worlds Brazil Aaron Pico's post-tournament interview. It was tough. But yeah, so he lost to Yazdani, forgivable, right? He lost to Mamadov. Probably shouldn't have lost that match because a lot of circumstances, age, officiating, whatever. So if you're doing the resume thing, yeah. Now, if you're doing the eyeball test, who would win? That's sort of a different story. That's a different take. And I'll cut to the chase because I'm kind of belaboring the point.
We also got a live caller in the show. I think we're going to start doing live callers soon. So we're bringing in Beshada today for his take, Willie, as well. On this.
All right, let me give my assessment, and then let Don go first.
My assessment is Duke, and I'll explain why. I think if you analyze just something what Bash was talking about, which is the credentials, as you just look at history of who has greater credentials at the various world championships, that certainly kind of Duke checks the box there. I think that the argument, which I think is a good argument, and I think it's close, by the way. I'll try to stay organized, but I'll digress for a minute. I think as we say that wrestling is better today than it was back when Pico was younger, I think that Pico is a guy who was far and away higher than anybody else at that time. And if I was to equate a high-level guy like a Marcus Blaze or other guys that you were talking about earlier, Pico was that guy. No question about it. So, yes, wrestling is better today than it was then, but Pico is a throwback, and he was as good as the kids are today back then, and he set himself above everybody else. There is no question about that. I can remember sitting, as a matter of fact, it's that great picture that I have of you and who's the kid from Oklahoma?
King Brock.
sitting on that side. That was right after the Pico Zane match when Pico just torched Zane at the Junior Open that year. Sitting Matt's side watching that match. Pico was he was far and away better than the field. There wasn't.
And by the way, Zane was a cadet world champion at that time.
Correct. So, again, I digress to say that I think that when we say wrestling is better today, yes, that's true. But Pico was that guy today, right? We have a group of them now. He was the one guy that stood apart.
But you're still taking Duke.
And yes, and here's why. So I think that when you analyze it side by side, I think you look at Duke's credentials versus Pico's credentials. And I'll bring a Feller's quote in here. Who's his best win? Right. So I think that what I've heard or what I looked at on Twitter and some stuff on FRL, it's people like, well, Pico beat David Safarian. Well, I think something that we need to remember. Yes, Safarian is a world champion and you don't take that away from him. But Safarian won that title in 2013. And back then, the really good first level guys typically did not go to Worlds the year after the Olympics. If you look back historically, the Worlds after the Olympic year typically was a little bit watered down. And Safarian won.
That is 100% true.
So when you look at Safarian's bracket in 2013, look, no world championship is easy. And you don't say, the guy's a world champion. He's not really a world champion. He's definitely a world champion. But that being said, that bracket was certainly not like the brackets that you see today or the brackets that you saw then. And the evidence of that is, I don't think Safarian ever made the medal matches again. In fact, I think he lost in the first or the second round at every other world championship that he competed in after 2013. So I don't discount the Safarian win as a great win. I just say that I think that when you say he beat Safarian as a world champion, you have to take in context that Safarian won that title at a time when the weight class was somewhat watered down given the year and given the circumstances. That's number one. Number two, I think the other thing about Pico is he was 5-0 against Zane or 6-0 against Zane. And for those of us who watch those matches, he just wasn't 5-0 or 6-0 against Zane. He was far and away better. And they weren't just, 1 or 2-0 wins. They were dominant shutouts in a lot of situations. Now, again, this was before Zane became Zane. That being said, I think you have to credit that to Pico. Now, again, I go back to...
Hold on. That is one thing I disagree with. Okay. I agree with every point you made, but I disagree with that is Zane before Zane. Now, Zane might have gotten better, but Zane was still a freaking monster. Cadet World Champ.
No question about it. I think if you look at Zane's career, there's a distinction between before his redshirt year and after his redshirt year. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't mean that he wasn't great. It just
he beat Logan Stieber. He beat Logan Stieber before he redshirted.
Stieber was sick. Yeah, that's true. But there are other circumstances surrounding that. Okay, I think you got to take all that into context. That's all I'm saying. I don't think that.
He was Zane after his red shirt. You're right.
Was different.
Incredibly transformed. However, if there was no Aaron Pico, if Aaron Pico didn't exist,
Zane wins.
Zane would have been all that already.
Again, I just think
it's the only person to beat Zane.
If I look at Zane's career, I think that Zane got progressively better, and there are marked differences in Zane through the years. I think if you look at him as like a junior in high school, he was getting beat. He was great, but he was getting beat by Anthony Ashnall. Then when you fast forward to both their freshman year of college, because they were the same age, Zane was torching Ashnall. Then I think, again, and I give it credit, it wasn't just that Aaron beat Zane. They were dominant wins. But I do think that there's a distinction between Zane before and Zane after that redshirt year that's subtle, but I think it's an important note. I don't discount it, and I think it's heavily weighs. When I look at Duke versus Pico, it's really close. And I think you have to take heavily into consideration that Pico never lost to Zane. But again, I sort of equate that as when people say wrestling is better today. Aaron was the maybe not the first, but one of the first of the
That's
better today, younger kids. Right?
That's to me. That's to me where the argument, where the debate really is tough.
Well, let me finish one other thing. So one other thing. I think that then the argument of, well, Aaron made the Olympic trials finals as a high school kid, and now PJ making the team, and that being said, I think the thing you need to remember, and this is not discounting anything of Pico's accomplishments, I just think you need to take everything into context when you're talking about him. The Olympic trials run that he had, let's remember something. He beat Jason Ness to start. Then he beat J.O. But remember,
Hodge Trophy winner. Hodge Trophy winner. Hodge Trophy winner.
Agreed. Jason but remember something. Then he wrestled. Then he beat J.O. J.O. was injured coming into that tournament and was injured at that tournament. So, again, I'm not discounting the win. I'm just saying that there are circumstances surrounding that. Let me finish before you interrupt.
Did he just get disconnected?
Well, let me just interject about J.O. for 1 second. I was in a car with J.O.'s mother driving from Pennsylvania, driving from here in Easton to Iowa City for the trials. J.O. was on the phone saying...
Got bounced by another call. So hang on, let me finish. So J.O. coming in that thing, that's fine. Then, and this is one thing that people just don't remember about the 2016 Olympic trials, okay? No one remembers it, but it's a fact. That bracket was Reese Humphreys to lose. And if Reese was not injured in the match with Jimmy Kennedy, there is no question in my mind that Reese blows out Pico in the semis and absolutely wins that bracket. Jimmy Kennedy came into that tournament as far and away the favorite because he was wrestling phenomenally coming into that event, as was Reese. And if you remember, at the Open in December of 2015, Reese torched, not beat, absolutely torched Pico, teched him in the first period. He hit that move called the hump, that everybody called the hump nasty, where he basically cradled him in midair and whipped him to his back. Reese was wrestling and then Reese was absolutely destroying Jimmy Kennedy in that tournament before his knee got fucked up. And there is no question in my mind, and no one will ever convince me otherwise. I've had this debate with 20 people. No one will ever convince me otherwise. Reese Humphrey, and it's kind of one of, I don't want to make this about Reese because we'll go back to Pico Duke, but Reese Humphrey loses by ball draw in 2012. Coleman Scott goes on to win an Olympic medal. Okay? 2016, Reese was wrestling coming into that event as good as he ever wrestled. And I tell you what, I think that if Reese didn't get hurt, I think we have an Olympic medalist at 65 kilos in 2016. No one will ever convince me otherwise because Reese was the truth then. And in absence of that knee injury, I don't even think Pico makes the finals against Frank Molinaro. So it doesn't take away from the fact that he did and doesn't take away from anything else. It just means in context, you have to take all of that into consideration. And when you do all that, I go back to just simply, are Duke's wins equating to Pico's wins in time frame? They absolutely are. Is Duke's resume a little bit better than Pico's resume on the junior and the cadet level? Yes, it is.
No, they're not.
We'll see what Duke does at the Senior Worlds this year. I think that it's a super close
PJ
call.
Duke never even made a cadet team.
Well, Duke has 2 junior medals, right?
2 junior medals. So does Aaron Pico.
And Pico has, what, 3 total medals? But never a gold at the junior level.
Nobody won cadets.
Okay, and he never made a world team. And Duke's on the world team. So I think if you compare the resumes, I don't think it's not that it's not close. I just think that the resumes are close, but Duke gets the nod because his resume is just a tad bit better than Pico. Now, again, I can also argue the Pico side of it and say, like you could say Pico.
Oh, here comes Lawyer Don.
Well, no, you just have to play both sides of it. Like Pico did transcend the sport in a way that Duke didn't. Let's be honest. Pico was the first of these super young guys.
I think
High school
you're
kid
probably.
makes the Olympic trials final. It's impressive, but I think in context it's different. Now I'll let you talk. Go
I
ahead.
am like you. That I could play both sides of it. But listen, PJ never made a cadet team. Pico did and won it. Pico made junior teams and medaled just as many times as PJ. Now PJ has more opportunities, but he beat Zane from even going there. And what I agree. I agree that Humphreys was on a hot streak, but let's not get it twisted. Reese made the world team the year before that at 61 kgs. Okay? And that's the only time he ever made it. And the story about Jordan Oliver, I was in the car with his mother going to freaking Olympic trials that year. We were driving to Iowa City. We made it to like Ohio, and Jordan called. Jordan was on the phone with his mom and said, "Mom, I ain't gonna make it." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I ain't making 61." And he was distraught, and we ended up turning around because he wasn't gonna make it. And so it was only last minute that he said, "Screw it, I'll go 65." So I get your point there. About JO. Still, that bracket was all-time good. And to say that Humphreys, I can see where you're saying Humphreys was the man to beat that year and would have won, but he was a world teamer at 61 the year before. The man to beat going into that tournament was Metcalf, who was the top seed, who had made a couple world teams in a row, but Molinaro takes him out. 3-3 in the second round. Look at that bracket. Metcalf made multiple world teams. Frank Molinaro made the Olympic team that year. Kellen Russell, 2-time national champ. Logan Stieber, 4-time national champ and made a world team before. Zane Rutherford, Olympian. James Green, multiple-time medalist. Jimmy Kennedy, world teamer. Dean Heil, 2-timer. Jason Chamberlain, NCAA finalist, junior world, final X competitor. Reese Humphrey. Pico Ness is a Hodge winner. Jordan Oliver was a 2 seed. Lost to Metcalf in the Open that year. Okay? So that bracket was all time.
Crazy bracket.
And here's another thing. They did that. The fan base, the casuals did that whole thing, and me and Piles were on top of it right away. The casuals did that thing like they did with Japan and said, I can't believe that Frank Molinaro won the Olympic spot. Oh, my God, this is a bad selection process. We need to do it like Russia does.
Yeah.
We need to just pick our guys. We need to just pick our guys because this system is terrible. Nerds. Frank Molinaro went on to reach a medal match at the Olympics. And oh, by the way, it was the first time we made it.
Lost really close. I mean, that was a great match. That was a great bronze medal match with Chamizo. That wasn't like that was a super tight 3-2 match. Yeah.
And oh, by the way, it was the closest we came to medaling for like 2 decades at that weight. All right. Mm-hmm. So Frank Molinaro not only won the spot in this monster bracket, but he also placed higher than we did at 65, 66 in decades. Okay.
You'll still never convince me that wasn't Reese's bracket to lose.
And guess what? Aaron Pico beat him match 1. Aaron Pico beat him match 1. You know what that was? That was, hold on, I'll tell you right now. Aaron Pico won match 1, 4-2. Molinaro beat him in match 2, 4-3. Final match for all the marbles. 4-4 Molinaro wins. That's how close Pico was to making an Olympic team.
PJ beat Yanni 2 out of 3 this year, including a pin. 4-time NCAA champ, and not a close to a medalist, but a silver medalist at 65 kg.
I'm not saying that.
Do it back and forth.
I'm not saying. Hold on. I'm not saying that to say Aaron Pico next topic. I'm saying it to inform the fans of just how close and how good Pico was. All right?
Fair enough. As Carmine Upertazzi Jr. said, fair enough.
Fair enough. Here's where I stand with it. I lucky enough to be around both of them, so I knew them. I knew their style and what they brought to the table intimately well. And I hate when people say, and this goes back to Don's original point, and this was my knee-jerk reaction when I saw the debate on Twitter. But I hate when people say, Babe Ruth, he played back when this and that, and this stunk and that stunk, and they weren't half the athletes, and he was fat and this and that and this and that. And then they say Barry Bonds, he ain't half the guy Barry Bonds was, and this and that, right? You have to compare people to their era. All right? Babe Ruth was hitting 60 home runs regularly in an era where the league average was like 12. All right? So I get that. You have to get that. But I think it's an era thing. And I don't know if you took PJ and put him in the 20 teens in Pico's era, I don't know if Pico I don't know if PJ beats Pico. But what I do know is if you just take Duke for what he has and all his abilities and his talents and what he brings to the table, and you bring Pico for all he was and all his talents and what his style was, I think PJ wins. I think PJ's more diverse. I think he's a little bit more fluid, a little bit more athletic. And if you really dial into what Pico was, he was a mauler, he was a masher, he was a snap, robotic, high crotch, snap ya, high crotch. And I just don't think that that's diverse enough to beat PJ. I think PJ figures it out. I think PJ's a little bit more athletic than that and gets him in some scrambles and gets him in some flurries and turns a couple of Pico's attacks into PJ's points. Now, that being said, if PJ existed, that's 2025 Pico, 2025 Duke against 2016 Pico. If PJ exists in 2016, PJ probably isn't that as complicated. 2016 PJ Duke probably isn't as evolved as 2025 PJ because times change. Kids are getting better.
You hit the nail on the head right there. The sport it's 10 years. The sport has evolved so much, and the technique in the sport has evolved so much in the last 10 years that I think, Pico was, to me, I think Pico was the end of what I'll call the Dan Gable-esque Iowa era, which was get in, pull on the head. You're right. That was his thing. And his snaps were just next level, dude. Next level. And now, again, the sport has evolved significantly since then. And again, I choose PJ because the resumes I think favor PJ. I think you're right that if you put PJ and Pico in a match in 2025, I take PJ. If you throw back and say, would PJ have been this developed had he existed in 2015? I
Right?
think you're probably right to say that Pico wins that match because Pico was that far ahead of the curve at that particular time because nobody
Yeah.
had an answer for the snaps. Nobody had an answer for them.
No, he beat you into submission. He
Yeah,
beat you into
that's exactly
submission,
right.
and
Look, I can
so
remember you and I talking when he was doing it to Zayn, and I remember you look at me and you're just like, "Do you believe what's happening right now?" Because he was just bouncing his head off the mat like one after another after another. And Zayn was a physical motherfucker, and
that's what
Pico
that's
was
what I'm
just
saying.
that much
Like
more physical. It was crazy.
he Zane was a country PA farm boy, right? Who won on grit and strength and toughness in his early days. Now he got
Yep.
way more skilled as time went on. But Pico basically out Zane back then.
Yes, he did.
That's how
Yes, he did.
tough Pico was. And you remember the Pico Pico won Freak Show when Freak Show was like that bracket was Super 32-esque back then.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Pico again. Pico was the one. Right now, we've got, you can sit there and you can pick your people, right? It's like, well, who are the phenoms of today? Well, you got Jax, you got Marcus, you have PJ, you have your young guys. Back then, it was Pico. There weren't guys that were high school guys that were threatening at the senior level. He was the only guy. Again, I
Right?
won't go away from the fact that I think Reese was just far and away the best guy in that bracket. One other thing they
Right?
said, look, we could have a whole discussion about that 65 kilo bracket, and it would be an unbelievable piece of content to discuss that bracket. But people tell me that I'm lying, but I'm not.
No,
When
I
I
mean
saw that,
Reese was good. Reese
when I
was
saw
hot.
that draw, no, on this issue, when I saw that draw, I didn't think Metcalf was the favorite, and I thought Frank was going to beat him. Now I was friendly with Frank, and I was rooting for Frank, but Mike Jones and I looked at the bracket and we're like, Frank's best shot at making the Olympic team just happened because Frank, the athletic guys like Kennedy and Reese and Jo, really kind of had Frank's number back then, and Metcalf wasn't that guy. They had very similar styles with very similar high crotches, and it was like, well, who's going to get to it? And the brawling style of Frank was just phenomenally strong. And I think that's where Metcalf was going to struggle against Frank. That was our analysis going into it. When Frank won, people were like, I can't believe, especially in Carver, I can't believe that Frank just beat Metcalf. I wasn't surprised in
Right.
the slightest, not at
Right.
all. Just
So
their styles just clashed.
I think for me, my answer is if we have to evaluate based on what Duke is and what Pico was, I'll take Duke to win that match because Duke was more complicated, more evolved, less one. I don't want to say Pico was a one-trick pony, but he was very robotic in what he did.
Yep.
And listen, I don't want to turn this into a UFC show, but precisely the reason that Pico is struggling in the UFC, and I say struggling using that term loosely because Lerone is going to have a title shot and Pico just beat him for 3 minutes. Okay. But the reason that Pico has errors in UFC is precisely reflected in the way he wrestled. He's robotic. He's going to chase you down, try to beat you into submission when a lot of the times he needs to just step back and relax.
Yeah. Adam Terrapelli tweeted all about that too. He had an
He did?
interesting, very similar to your take. Basically, he said the same thing. He's like, to boil it down, he said, what made Pico such a great wrestler is a gap in his MMA game. If there's a gap in his MMA game, and there's not a lot of gaps in his MMA game, but if there's a gap in his MMA game, it's that I am going to grab you and I am going to beat you into submission. And at
And
times,
sometimes
match
he tries
savvy
to
is
run you
important.
down. Sometimes he tries to run you down into his own peril.
Yep. Well, I mean, if you look at that finals match against Yazdani when he wrestled Yazdani, I think you can make that argument in that match.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So my final take is if you take PJ for what he is right now, he's more advanced than what Pico was back then. However, if PJ Duke exists back then, I don't know that he's as advanced as he is now. And
That's
so
a fair
I
take.
agree with that take.
Yeah.
I think that's a great take. I'll still, as we sit in 2025, I'll still give the nod slightly to Duke, but I think you're right that if you're making this call and you're saying, well, okay, let's go back to 2015, I think the call is nobody was beating Pico at that level at that point, just at that age bracket. No, they weren't. I mean, again, Reese beat him up pretty good at the U.S. Open, but Reese had an insane amount of international experience when that happened. Reese had been around the game a really long time. But if you take a 19-year-old PJ Duke that could only advance so far in 2015, I think you're right, because I'm not sure I would take a 2015 PJ Duke against Zane. I think I'd probably pick Zane in that match back then. Just kind of the way it played out, but the way that they've played out now, and where they're currently at in their development. At this age, PJ is much more developed than Pico was back then. That could be due to the fact that the sport has evolved and enforced that development.
What's another odd thing about the comparison is that Pico wrestled 65, 66, and he wrestled 138 and 145 for his entire career.
Yeah.
His entire career. PJ has grown and grown and grown, and PJ ain't going to be at 70 any longer.
Nope.
I mean, right, PJ is going to end up going to 74 and 165 pounds. And so the comparison is going to get a little odder. Like, I think the comparison probably stops after PJ, maybe after Senior Worlds, maybe as late as NCAA's 2026. But eventually PJ is going to be out of that weight range. And Aaron Pico, 10 years later, is still competing at 145 pounds.
Your next series of comparisons are going to be Marcus Blaze to Pico and Jax Forrest to Pico, because that's how the weights are going to shake out eventually. But again, if people, there is a recency bias, I think, is always important. But if people weren't around to see how good, not that you weren't around the sport, but if you weren't really closely attached to the sport, because Pico only wrestled 1 year in high school, right? If you weren't really closely attached to the sport and watched it, I mean, Pico was phenomenal, and he was a phenom. He was the phenom. There wasn't anybody else. It was him. He was that good back then. He was that good.
He was that good.
I think at the time, too, just as a quick anecdote, right? Valentine, I don't think gets enough credit because at that time, Valentine's two people were Pico and Helen Maroulis. And Pico makes the Olympic trial finals in 16, regardless of my take on that bracket. But he did make the finals and did take a match from Molinaro, was close to making the Olympic team. And then Helen goes on to win the Olympic gold that year, defeating, the woman from Japan who had basically never been beaten. And the consistent of both of that greatness was Valentine, who was just a tremendous, tremendous coach that I don't believe gets the credit he deserves for a lot of what he brought to the sport. Period. I was always a big Valentine fan, great guy, and I think he did tremendous things.
I just spent a good clip with Valentine in Athens, and he's like transitioning. It's not even transitioning really, because it was his first kind of job, like love. But he's going to be doing full-time Greco now for Titan Mercury, which is a good thing.
Wrestling savant, if I've ever met one before. Just really,
100%.
really high level guy, and a nice guy all the way around. Just a good person.
Yeah.
So shout out to Valentine. All right, boys.
All right.
Well, thanks for having me on for this great little segment. Always good to move off the bluefin tuna grounds and go back to wrestling for a little bit. And
I keep Fox News will never be the same because I always have Fox and Friends on while we're doing the show, and now that you were on it, it's staying on.
Listen, there's a great backstory that I'll tell you over a beer when I see you next. It's actually you'll crack up. It was pretty funny.
Amstel Lights.
Yeah, I got the picture. I'll send it to you. It was funny. I had none there, so I'm drinking water this morning. I don't have any beer. I got to go get some.
Hey, I have a legal question. I got to pick your brain about. I was ranting to Bash about this morning. I'll call you in a half hour.
Sounds good. Talk to you boys later. Thanks.
All right, see you, Don. All right, Willie. That is the 40-minute Pico Duke debate.
It really is. That was a long one.
That literally doubled the show. The first 40 minutes were U20s, and the second 40 minutes was PJ Duke, Aaron Pico. But listen,
we wanted to talk a little bit about. I wanted to mention the Binghamton job as well. It sounds like we'll save it for next show. I want to talk about the Binghamton job. I wanted to talk about there's already people trying to poach Rademacher, which is super scummy. I wanted to talk about
that topic. Yeah,
I wanted to talk about the collectives. The NIL collectives are sort of kind of done, maybe, but maybe not. I mean, listen, every day there's a different rule change and stuff going on, and I want to be up to date and as much as I can and know what's going on, but it's almost impossible how quickly things change. But it sounds like the NIL collectives, which used to be, okay, Alabama is going to raise $100 million for their collective, and they're going to give this lineman $1 million. Pay for play. It's pay for play. It's perfectly legal. Nobody's going to do anything about it, even if it wasn't legal. It sounds like those are dead. Now, NIL collectives can still exist, but the whole pay-for-play, crazy-ass money, no holds barred, here's $4 million if you want a quarterback. It sounds like those kind of things are done. Listen, we went for a very long time. It was a great conversation with Don on the PJ Duke Aaron Pico debate and a trip down memory lane. I love that. I love talking about
how Don, it always fascinates me, his ability to recall something. It's just printed. It's just like it's there. Like he can just walk through every ounce of that bracket that was a decade ago almost. It's crazy.
Well, remember, I mean, back then Don was 2 feet in. He was immersed 100%. In it, you know. So those were his guys, Humphrey and Molinaro and those guys. But yeah, it's always fun. You know, we're always caught up in, and summertime's a great time to do it. We're always 100%. Caught up in results now. What's hot in the streets? Results. It's great to. I mean, maybe once in a while, maybe next summer. Or continuing with this summer, once in a while we'll just take a look at a past bracket, talk about how awesome it was and what things were going 100%. On back then. But awesome stuff for Don. I'm going to call him in a couple minutes. And we got stuff loaded for the next show, Rademacher, collectives, Binghamton head job.
Lehigh, the Lehigh coaching thing should be out by then too. So I think that's coming out this week. I'm going to find out. We might have the newly appointed.
This is the longest, most drawn out thing ever.
Yeah,
it's been going on for a month and a half. So quick on the Binghamton thing, it sounds like they offered the job to Ryan LeBlanc, and now they're going over, like, before he accepts it, like compensation terms. That's what it sounds like right now. Also, a little nugget. Colton Hawks is going to Arizona State. Missouri starter previously. He's going to Arizona State. There's a little nugget for you to end the show. Go Bills.
Go Bills. Do good. God bless.